Welcome to Little English Studio, where English learning meets the inspiring stories of the world's greatest people. Here, we tell powerful life journeys in clear and simple English, so you can improve your English while discovering lessons of courage, resilience, and hope. Today, we share the remarkable story of Teresa Carreño, a woman whose life was filled with music, brilliance, and passion. Born in Venezuela, Teresa became a child prodigy, a global piano sensation, an opera singer, a composer, and even one of the very first female conductors. She traveled the world, performed for presidents and emperors, and inspired generations of musicians. This is the incredible life story of Teresa Carreño, the Venezuelan Nightingale. Teresa Carreño was born on December 22, 1853, in Caracas, Venezuela. She came into a family where music was everywhere. Her father, Manuel Antonio Carreño, was a politician, educator, and pianist. He taught Teresa her very first lessons. From the moment she touched the piano keys, it was clear that she had an extraordinary gift. By the age of 6, she was already performing pieces that amazed her family. By 8, she was composing her own short works. Caracas in the mid-19th century was a city of both opportunity and political tension. Venezuela was still recovering from wars of independence, yet Teresa's home was full of books, culture, and, most importantly, music. Her parents quickly realized that their daughter's talent was too great to remain hidden in Venezuela. In 1862, when Teresa was only 8 years old, her family moved to New York City. It was the time of the American Civil War, and the city was filled with energy, change, and uncertainty. Soon after arriving, Teresa gave her debut concert at Irving Hall. Audiences were stunned. Here was a little girl from Venezuela, barely tall enough to reach the pedals, yet playing with the passion and control of a master. Newspapers called her a marvel and a child genius. That same year, she was invited to perform at the White House for President Abraham Lincoln. It became one of the most famous episodes of her life. Sitting at the piano in front of the tall, weary president, Teresa performed pieces by Chopin and her own compositions. Lincoln was deeply moved, later saying that her playing gave him comfort during the hardest days of the war. This moment marked the beginning of a career that would span more than 50 years. After her debut in New York, Teresa began touring across the United States and Cuba. She played with orchestras, gave solo recitals, and performed for packed audiences. By the age of 9, she had already published her first composition, Gottschalk Waltz, dedicated to the famous pianist and composer Louis Moreau Gottschalk, who became her mentor and supporter. Critics praised her not only as a prodigy but also as a true artist. Unlike many child performers, Teresa combined technical mastery with deep emotional expression. Audiences felt she was not just showing off talent, she was sharing her soul. In 1866, at just 13 years old, Teresa and her family moved to Paris, the musical capital of Europe. Parisian audiences were used to great artists, but even they were amazed by the little Venezuelan girl. She performed for Rossini, the great opera composer who admired her playing. She gave concerts across France, Spain, and England. At one point, she even studied briefly with Franz Liszt, the greatest pianist of the 19th century. Liszt saw in Teresa not just a prodigy but a future master. He encouraged her to expand her repertoire, to trust her power, and to continue composing. By her late teens, Teresa Carreño was one of the most famous pianists in Europe. In the 1870s, Teresa surprised the music world by expanding her career into opera. She had a rich, powerful voice, and she studied singing seriously. Soon, she began appearing on stage in operatic productions. She performed roles such as Leonora in Il Trovatore and Marguerite in Faust. Audiences were astonished. She was not only one of the greatest pianists of her time, but also a commanding opera singer. Her ability to master both piano and voice set her apart. Few musicians in history have succeeded at such a high level in both. In addition to performing, Teresa continued to compose. She wrote over 70 works, including piano pieces, songs, chamber music, and orchestral works. Her compositions combined romantic expressiveness with her Latin American roots. She was also one of the first women to conduct orchestras. At a time when conducting was almost exclusively male, Teresa stepped onto the podium with confidence. Audiences and musicians respected her authority. Behind the glamour of her career, Teresa's personal life was often difficult. She married 4 times and had several children, but her marriages were unstable. She faced challenges balancing family life with an international career. Traveling constantly, she sometimes had to leave her children in the care of relatives or friends. This caused her great pain. As a woman in the 19th century, she also had to fight prejudice. Many critics questioned whether a woman could truly be a genius, yet Teresa proved them wrong again and again, simply by continuing to play, sing, and compose at the highest level. Throughout the late 19th century, Teresa toured across Europe, North America, and South America. She performed in Caracas, Havana, New York, Paris, Berlin, Vienna, and St. Petersburg. Everywhere she went, she left a deep impression. She became a symbol of Latin American pride, showing the world that Venezuela could produce artists equal to any in Europe. Audiences adored her passionate style. She was called the Valkyrie of the piano for her power and intensity, and the Venezuelan Nightingale for her beauty in singing. In the early 20th century, Teresa continued to perform, even as her health began to decline. She gave concerts in Cuba, the United States, and her beloved Venezuela. In 1917, while in New York, she passed away at the age of 63. Her death was mourned across the world. Musicians, critics, and fans recognized that a true giant of music had left the stage. Teresa Carreño left behind more than her recordings and compositions. She left behind a legacy of courage, brilliance, and pioneering spirit. She was one of the greatest pianists of the 19th century, admired by Liszt, Rossini, and other masters. She was a successful opera singer, composer, and conductor. She was a symbol of Venezuela, bringing pride to her country at a time when Latin American musicians were rarely celebrated abroad. She broke gender barriers, proving that women could lead, conduct, and dominate the stage. Today, Venezuela's National Theatre in Caracas is named the Teatro Teresa Carreño in her honor. Her name continues to inspire musicians worldwide. Thank you for joining us in the inspiring journey of Teresa Carreño, the Venezuelan Nightingale. She was more than a prodigy. She was a force of nature, a woman who conquered the piano, the opera stage, and the concert hall. Her life teaches us that talent, courage, and persistence can break every barrier. At Little English Studio, we bring you stories of inspiring lives, told in simple English, so you can improve your English while discovering history's most powerful voices. If you liked this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring journeys.